watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, as a prompt for our conversation this morning, which is on the national policy on 5G technologies, let's take this background report.
5G finally to be deployed in Nigeria after getting the nod of the federal government, which some industry players say seemed like the only obstacle against the deployment of the technology in the country. But the approval by the Federal Executive Council has once again brought to the fore the controversies surrounding the good, bad and ugly sides of the fifth generation technology network, an advanced form of 2G, 3G and 4G, which Nigeria currently operates. Some Nigerians who hammered on migration issues usually associated with such introductions sued for seamlessness in the transition.
It is good for us to have 5G. You understand? Because it is going to enhance business growth in the long run. There may be some problems here and there, just the same problem we experienced when we migrated to 4G. 5G is where the world is going, and we cannot afford, to stay behind because of all these theories that people are flying up and down. It does not just make sense.
Clear of things I have about the 5G. Only God knows how it's going to be functioned. But the 4G aspects, let's just try and deal with the 4G within the area, within the domain, before we talk about the 5G.
Those who want to remain where they are before their father was born, let them remain there. And those who want to move forward, let them move forward.
With many developed nations of the world already far into 5G adoption, ICT experts say Nigeria cannot be left behind, especially as its deployment would speed up the growth of Nigeria's digital economy, among other benefits.
International Telecommunications Union, that is ITU, which is an arm of the United Nations, and also World Health Organization, both of them confirm that there is no any adverse health effect of 5G.
And for most average users, they probably wouldn't notice the difference, unless maybe when they actually take into account that they can actually watch YouTube much, much faster now. They can actually download a whole movie or entire TV series in the shortest time possible.
While the deployment of the policy is said to take immediate effect and will be carried out in phases between now and 2025, getting it right in such a manner that would make the deployment beneficial to the country and the end users is the major expectation of Nigerians.
Yes, we're talking national policy on 5G technology, and then we have guests really seated here in our Abuja studio. And then first, let me introduce Professor Issa Ali Pontemi, Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. Glad to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Glad to meet you on this platform.
Thank you so much. And then we also have Uche Mbanaso, Associate Professor of Cybersecurity and Executive Director, Center for Cyberspace Studies, Nasarawa State University. Thank you for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, and then joining us via Zoom from Lagos is Otumba Benga Adebayo. He's Chairman Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, Alton. Otumba Benga, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Honorable Minister.
Good morning, my good friend.
Good morning.
All right, let's begin the conversation with the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. Break it down in layman's language. What is 5G technology all about in the telecoms industry?
5G technology is just a name of a most advanced network technology for the telecommunications sector. As you know, we have started with 1G, which is being used for voice, going to 2G, being used for sending small messages, SMS, 3 and 4G for voice, messages, and even being used in broadband, Then now we are into 5th generation, that is 5G, which comes up with so many advancements in the area of like speed, in the area of low latency, and at the same time in the area of effectiveness. So it is an advancement of 4G. It is contrary to what people assume, that it is an entirely different system, but rather it is an advanced stage on what we know of 3G, 4G, and now 5G.
This sounds really technical, looking at 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. That's a generational, development over the years, since the 80s all through the 90s and up to this time when we have 5G. As we had in the background, a lot of people are expressing some optimism, which I believe is born out of the fact that it's a great thing to do, to have. And some are really pessimistic, looking at the fact that there are so many stories, negative stories about it. Further break it so that the layman can now really understand. I have a cell phone, I have a computer, I have all these gadgets. How would it affect me now if 5G is rolled out in Nigeria, has been approved by the Federal Executive Council last week?
If you get connected to 5G, there are so many benefits you derive from it. That benefits could be collectively, some could be even individually, we can get from 5G. For example, let me just give you a simple example. 5G will promote telemedicine, will promote telesurgery. With 5G technology and the advancement in medicine and surgery, we could reach a situation where you stay in Nigeria, a medical doctor or a surgeon from the US or from the UK or from South Korea or from India or Egypt or Saudi Arabia or anywhere will be able to conduct surgery on you virtually without coming to Nigeria and do it. Secondly, it will also promote even virtual holiday, particularly using augmented reality and virtual reality. One may be here physically, but you may travel virtually to other nations for your holiday.
That's astral travel.
Yes. And thirdly, in security, it will also promote remote surveillance, where with the high quality broadband, for example, when it comes to speed, it is approximately 20 times faster than the 4G.
Okay.
At least 20 times. Look at the gap and look at the quality. If you have good 4G, look at its effectiveness. But 5G will be approximately 20 times faster than the 4G itself. So these are some of the benefits that one can attain from 5G. So it will open many opportunities for businesses, looking at the quality of the service. And at the same time, it will also allow many facilities, devices, and gadgets to get connected, meaning everyone will be connected to almost everything. These are some of the advantages of 5G. If you visit the countries where 5G has been deployed, you will discover that so far they are enjoying all these benefits. Furthermore, as you observe that there were some conspiracy theories around 5G, we started the process of deployment, or even what we call trial of 5G since on 26 November 2019. Almost 2 years now. At that time, we started with a trial in Nigeria in 6 locations. In Abuja was the first one. And I personally did the trial in Abuja here. But in early 2020, then there was a conspiracy theory, some linking 5G to COVID-19 at that time. So because of how our government is a responsible government, we couldn't proceed. We have to put everything on hold, to engage our citizens, to engage more stakeholders, to create more awareness, and to partake in sensitization, including our local languages, to reach out to all our citizens to understand that this is a responsible government. We cannot take you into anything that will be harmful to your health or to the security of the nation. And most importantly, at the tail end of our trial and our study group as well, the United Nations arms like International Telecommunications Union and World Health Organization came up with a verdict to show to us that there wasn't any adverse health effect of 5G to our health. So it is because of this we accommodated that, and we also conveyed that to our citizens, that this is the investigation of the United Nations arms, like International Telecommunications Union and World Health Organization. So to be fair with you, there are many benefits of 5G. In security, it will promote remote surveillance, where you can have so many facilities like robotics attached to Internet of Things and many more. Securities will be able to deploy it to have real-time communications, including in remote areas where they are not being advised to be there physically. Secondly, it will help major companies that require very strong broadband, for example, where they partake in remote operations and many more, including in oil and gas, from discovery to production to refining. 5G is very useful indeed. When it comes to individually, it will help us in telemedicine, telesurgery, and it will also help us in our business activities, because in each and every country where 5G is deployed, you will discover that there are many opportunities that will come up for the citizens to enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Let's go over to Lagos and rejoin Otumba Benga Adebayo via Zoom. Otumba Benga, well, 5G is here, approved by the Federal Executive Council. What does this mean for the telecom subsector?
Thank you for having me once again. Good morning, viewers. The good thing about this now is that we are going to be in the next layer of technology. Experience has shown that every successive layers of telecommunications generation has brought improvement in user experience, has also brought significant experience in the quality of service that is delivered to the end user. And as rightly explained by the Honorable Minister, the major benefit of 5G is that you have a high volume of data transfer between person to person and between person to machines. And the world today is talking about home office, virtual reality, and the rest of them. All of these applications we ride on 5G. The benefit for us in this part of the world is that the infrastructure that we have deployed is ready to go, and we are good to start off on 5G. So we are very pleased about the success of the bid trial that has been done. We are pleased about the approval of the policy that has now been granted by government. And I think at the end of the day, all of us as Nigerians will stand to benefit from this. Let me remind you very quickly that a few years ago, you had invited me for a live interview like this, and I had to fly from Lagos to Abuja to participate at the interview. Today, I'm sitting on a 4G network. The quality is better than it is. But tomorrow, on the 5G network, it will be as if we're just next to each other. Today also we're talking about digital economy, mobile banking services. All of these services will run better, more practically and more affordable, and of course with better latency on the 5G network. So we are good to go. It means a lot for us as an industry. It means a lot for us as a country. And I think that we must be grateful to the minister and his team for making this happen at this time. So yesterday was 4G, and tomorrow will be 5G. So we are really good to go.
Okay, Otumba Benga, thank you very much there for your comments. But you recall that probably sometime last year when we had you again via Zoom from Lagos, I did say that you needed to tell us the secret of the clarity and lack of distortion of your Zoom connection. Today it's still the same thing, but you haven't told us that secret, and we are getting to migrate to 5G. So.
I'm on 4G network. It's a lot better. Tomorrow I'll be on 5G. All things being equal, to be much, much better. And what that means for us is that even in our digital economic space, a lot of things will be done virtually. Look at what has happened to us on account of the COVID-19 lockdown and the rest of them. But what has kept the economy going and people and life moving on is the application of telecom technology. And so what that means is that in tomorrow's space, all parts of the country will be like next door neighbors. All parts of the world will be like next door neighbors. And the best that can happen to us also as a people at this time is to deploy 5G to be able to solve a number of our socio-economic and socio-cultural problems. Challenges that we face across the country, this will be easily addressable by the 5G network. And at the end of it all, the end users will be the major beneficiaries because prices also will significantly reduce and come down. Today, applications that you can download in 10 minutes, you will download it at that time in 1 minute. Movies and the rest of them that you download in an hour, in the era of 5G, probably would have been downloaded in 10 minutes. Electronic gaming, electronic sporting, e-commerce, and the rest of them will run well and better on 5G. And of course, organizations like yours, like the Nigerian Television Authority, that is actually technology disposed, will do a lot better in the era of 5G. Today, we are talking about long distance communication. Most of the time, you do that by satellite communications. Tomorrow, with the 5G pipe connected to your networks across the country, you just feel like one station next to the other. So big data, high volume of data, better data transfer, high speed of communication, higher quality of communication, all of this will be guaranteed and assured by 5G. I asked you when last did you visit a banking hall? But today, you know, there are still challenges when you go to those automatic teller machines. Sometimes you are delayed in having connection and all that. When those machines are powered tomorrow by 5G, it will be one dial, one go, and things will work a lot better. So we're actually in a good place, I must say.
Well, thank you so much, Benga Adebayo. Let's hear from Professor, Uchem Baneso. You've heard the two, guests speak, and of course, really want to hear your, opening salvo on this issue. Gradually, the world is being interconnected. That's really making real the saying that the world is becoming a global village. 5G has come to connect everybody with everything from what you've just heard and what you've just known right now. What would you say about this policy in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. And first of all, let me commend my brother friend, the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, for that giant stride, and the President for assenting to that policy. It's a very good thing, and right on time, and especially what is going on in the global arena. Nigeria cannot be left behind. I think undoubtedly there is no debate about the potentials of 5G. 5G has great potentials, and for the fact that the Honorable Minister is also a champion of the digital economy, I think rolling out 5G will enhance our digital economy stride. So it's a very good thing. It's very well welcome. But the how we go about it is the next phase of things. And I think with all due respect and all due that the Honorable Minister has tried so much to do a lot of things in this sector. I think what is needed is the industry to actually key in, to be able to tap into the benefits. By the way, let me just say something, because when we talk about this 5G, what is making 5G an attraction, and what is making 5G better? What is making 5G better is that what they call the base transceiver stations is actually coming nearer to the user equipment. And so you are going to see the big towers you see for business, on the streets. So it makes it easier for you to be able to connect and be able to connect to other, devices. So that is the vitality of the 5G network, because it's much higher frequency, and this much higher frequency have lesser wavelength, and because they have wavelength, the BTS has to be very close. So you can see, thousands of these BTS on a street, okay? And that is what enhances the speed, enhances the greater things we are going to get from the 5G. Now, how the industry tap into this to also improve our economy is very, very vital. I think the Honorable Minister has done his own, and the Nigerian government has done his own. I think the bulk now rests on the industry. How does industry tap into this to improve our digital economy? And I am going to say, I'm also privileged to be with the Honorable Minister. So I'm going to make
my to make some suggestions how this can improve our economy, because it is not just rolling 5G for mere communication, but how does the industry tap in? Like he said about telemedicine, and he gave a very good example how in the very future somebody from US can perform an operation here. And so these are the things that are coming up. But how do we domesticate this? A remote person cannot operate remotely without using a robot, for instance. And so he's going to operate this robot remotely and to be able to perform operation on a human being. And then that particular technology robots also has enormous security implications. And so how we move forward from here, domesticating these technologies and looking at our national security imperative is very, very vital in the 5G rollout, because without security and safety and trust, there's going to be a very huge problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mbanaso. We'll come back to you. Back again to the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. Why did we have to have a national policy on 5G technology? Did we have a policy on 2G technology, 3G technology, and 4G technology?
So thank you very much for asking this question. Not having policy on 2G, 3G, and 4G will not be a justification why we shouldn't have a policy on 5G. The right thing is always supposed to be done when you are given the opportunity to do it. I was not there when 2G, 3G, and 4G were deployed, but I'm now there when 5G is about to be deployed. It is the approach of the federal government of Nigeria, and based on the provision of the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999, as amended under Section 147 and 148, ministers are in charge of the national policy formulation of their sector. Policy formulation is to give you direction, to bring all stakeholders to come together and consider the do's and don'ts with regards to any policy that is being formulated, and at the same time to come up with the steps to be followed in order to ensure that its implementation is successful. So 1, 2, if you look at the Nigerian Communications Act 2003, it is clearly stated that ministers are mandated to ensure the formulation of a policy in the telecommunications sector. This policy formulation brought about the representatives of each and every sector that we consider as stakeholders. Security institutions were fully represented in the formulation. Health institutions were fully represented. Academia, fully represented. Industry, fully represented. Environment, fully represented. So we brought all these stakeholders together because it is more of multi-sectoral, because you will allow each and every sector to come and look into it and make recommendations on how to ensure a successful implementation of it. Number 2, when I became a minister in charge of our communication sector, then on 21st August 2019, I inherited only one policy in the entire ministry. And even that policy was developed by Republic of Korea through KOECA, Korean International Cooperation Agency. But as it is today, with all sense of humility, we have developed 16 national policies. And at least 13 of them are being implemented today. Even the 3 that are in draft form, we have been implementing them. We have been developing on one hand and implementation on the other because of their critical nature. So it has not been easy to develop 16 national policies and to continue implementing them within 2 years. So because of this, what we inherited, there was a huge gap. When I came to the ministry, there was not even national policy on digital economy. Even broadband penetration that was supposed to be there, it expired more than a year before I was appointed. I had to set up a team that we develop our National Broadband Plan 2020-2025, in which some of our colleagues, like him, participated fully in the digital economy policy. Alton, president here, they were part of it. So all these policies were not there. So it is because of this, this is the right thing to be done. As it is today, we have 16 national policies, and we'll continue to come up with many. And this is also one of them.
The national policy on the 5G technology.
Yes, it's also one of them, really.
What are the highlights of this policy?
Yeah, that's really what I wanted to ask. Yes. What does it contain, and where are we at the moment?
At the moment, to be fair, the major challenge lies on the table of Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, the regulator of the sector, along with the private sector, the industry, as my friend has said. These two have a critical role to play from here. The policy has been approved. The policy set up the mission, the vision, and at the same time, the anticipated outcome. What are we anticipating to achieve when 5G is deployed? And the policy also speaks on certain issues that are key, like health, like security, and many more. All these things have been captured effectively in the policy. The major challenge now lies on the table of the Nigerian Communications Commission, because when Mr. President approves, he's directed the minister in charge of communications and digital economy to ensure that NCC has coordinated the implementation of the policy effectively. What NCC is supposed to do at this stage is to come up with a regulatory instrument. That is how to regulate the deployment from beginning to end. Each regulator must get ready to come up with regulatory instrument to ensure a successful deployment and usage of 5G in Nigeria. Part of the regulatory instrument requires more stakeholder engagement from each and every sector, so that this regulatory instrument, which is a subsidiary legislation, which is a law itself, will guide the industry on how to do it. NCC is in the advanced stage of doing that. And two, it is their responsibility to give what is called type approval, meaning that no technology is supposed to be imported except based on what they have approved, because even in the technology, there could be priority of the federal government of Nigeria. So these are some of the things. So now the main responsibility is with NCC to be supported by other stakeholders, and these stakeholders can come from any part of the country.
Now, Honorable Minister, when you say NCC is now at the center of this, what's the position of the National Frequency Council in this regard, as we learned that it is trying to, as much as possible, release spectrums to NCC, who would rather, deploy them to mobile network operators for use? The Frequency Council is crucial in this regard, as we said.
It is very crucial, but the work is not as challenging as that of NCC. National Frequency Management Council, it is a council that has been established by law by the NCA 2003, and I happen to be the chairman of the council. Each and every frequency or spectrum in Nigeria is under that council. Whether that frequency or spectrum is being used in the telecommunications sector, or broadcasting, for example, or in aviation, or in transportation, or in security, that council has the responsibility of managing spectrums in Nigeria. Members of the council include NCC, for example, security institutions represented by the Office of National Security Advisor, Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Aviation, Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, Nigerian Broadcasting Commission. All these are members of the council. We usually meet 4 times a year, annually, except if there is an emergency meeting like this. Immediately after the approval of the policy, on Wednesday, the council met immediately on Thursday, the following day. We met, we had a very long discussion. The responsibility of the council is to determine which spectrum is going to be released in bulk to NCC. And NCC should assign the commercial spectrum to the mobile network operators for the deployment. The same council releases spectrum to National Broadcasting Commission for broadcasting and many more. It is under the same council. So we are in charge of all the spectrums in Nigeria, either in the telecommunications sector or in the broadcasting sector or in any other sector, including transportation and aviation. So we usually release commercial spectrum to both NCC and NBC commercial. Non-commercial spectrum, we usually release them directly to their operators. But commercial, we release them to NCC and to NBC. So the main responsibility of the council now, as we have started, is to identify the available spectrums for 5G deployment. And these spectrums will be immediately released to NCC in bulk. And NCC will ensure that they follow due process and release them to mobile network operators as the case may be. So these are the issues we discussed, and this is the role that this council is supposed to play. And we have reached an advanced stage of releasing the spectrums to NCC.
All right, thank you very much. Back to Otumba Gbenga Adebayo, chairman of Alton. Let's try to take a look at some of the potential implications of the deployment of 5G for the individual. I mean, what we have experienced over the past 2 decades with the advent of GSM is, as the generations have advanced, certain kinds of phones have become incompatible with their users. So when we get to 5G, are we going to have phone incompatibility? You know, these days is Android. Would there be special phones? Would that therefore require fresh investments by individuals?
Well, the good thing is that the technologies layer on one another. And interestingly, a number of the device manufacturers in the last year or so, all releases made in the last year or so, have made devices that are 5G ready. So a lot of the Android phones you see today that are the high-level Android phones, they're already ready to go on 5G. And so for individuals who will require migration, they may need to change their devices to be able to use devices that will work on 5G. But this will not happen for those who do not have a need for 5G. Machine is just machine-to-machine protocol. There is nothing to be done. It's just to program your device to be able to access protocols on 5G. But there is one clarification that is important for me to make from what the learned professor had said about the antennas for 5G. Yes, because 5G will be on higher frequency with lower wavelengths, we will require many more antennas, but the size of the antennas will not be as massive as what you currently have. So you will not see a situation where we would say because of 5G, you now have telecom antenna farms on street or in neighborhoods. A number of those are medium-sized devices that will sit on light poles, some will sit on rooftop of buildings, and the rest of them. You will still see a number of the current huge sites, which will serve as hub site to support 5G. But in terms of friendliness to the environment, we will not have to deploy massive size of sites for reasons of providing sites for 5G. They will merely sit on street furniture and on the rest of them. And in terms of the users, number of the devices are 5G ready to go. And I'm sure that as we have more countries rolling out 5G, once the volume increases, the prices will drop. So I won't be surprised in another year or so if you have handsets that are as cheap as 10,000 naira ready to go on 5G. So that's certainly not a point of concern.
Thank you, Benga Adebayo. Professor Mbaneso, in view of the fact that, you know, the devices being used now may not be so much altered in just like what, you know, Adebayo said, a lot of people still want to know about this 5G technology. When you assume that there is something new in the market and of course something new in the environment. The ecosystems seem to change, and a lot of people will want to adapt to that. As we had in the background, there are a lot of people are saying, some people are saying that they will really want to stay where they are, and while some want to really move forward. The connectivity here and the speed, which the Honorable Minister said, is really very crucial. How would a Nigerian, ordinary Nigerian now, realize the fact that it is necessary to, fall in line with this new technology instead of having to hang onto the 4G or the small thing he has earlier on?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's a valid question. Like the chairman of the actually mentioned over there, for the past 2-3 years, manufacturers have started manufacturing phones that has a 5G capability. So probably if you have bought phones within the last 3 years, maybe your phone will be compatible with 5G. That compatibility is very, very important because the frequency band of 4G is different from that of 5G. So there is compatibility issue, that's of no doubt. But if you have recent phones, it should be compatible with 5G. And there will also be, most of the phones will have a signal to tell you are in 5G. Just like if you have, most phones, you will see that it's telling you which network you are. And they will have backward compatibility, which means those phones that are 5G can even go to 2G if they go to environment where 2G operates. Okay. And so there's going to be a very tremendous improvement, and people will experience the speed and the quick access to this technology. But of course, what we should at this time be worrying about is the security, safety, and trust in the context, because what we are going to be seeing going forward, we're going to be witnessing more cyber crimes, because this 5G opens an avenue for our homes, for instance, to be more connected. And if our homes are more connected, imagine what is only happening because we're using smartphones. Okay, you know the enormous cybercrime activities happening because of only phone. Now talk about when your fridges are connected. When almost everything in your house is connected. So we're going to have more increased cybercrime. And I think as a nation, it's very, very important to have a cybersecurity policy dedicated to 5G, because 5G has enormous security issues, trust. Just giving you an example, you can have a counterfeit component easily replaced, and that counterfeit component can cause a lot of havoc. Like the Honorable Minister was talking about the remote operation, and we alluded it can be used, you can use a robot to do it. Just imagine an adversary, an enemy, replaces that robot with a counterfeit robot. And so instead of doing the right operation, it does the wrong operation. So you see that as this technology comes, they come with their dangers, their perils. And how a nation begin to tackle these problems is going to be a boost to us to be able to utilize this to improve our economy, as it were. So the greater work now is actually how to be able to contain the implications, the security implications, safety and trust in the 5G. I think that is the greatest work before the Honorable Minister, of course now, to do. Not just on paper, it must be domesticated because it has very, very debilitating effect. We are going to be affected. Cybercrime does not discriminate. Cyber attacks does not discriminate. So imagine your whole house, boggled, in a minute. If you have CCTV in your house, every activities in your house is seen, somewhere. So there's a very enormous cybersecurity issues that has to be addressed. And this is very, very vital.
Good enough. You're talking about that. I think the Honorable Minister is right here. I think you can respond to that. Talking about the cybersecurity, policy he's talking about. Is it part of the national policy on 5G technology, or it's something in the works?
So let me begin by appreciating my brother, Professor Imban Nasu, for his observations on that issue. And secondly, federal government has been proactive in that regard. But usually, as he knows, as a professional, not all issues of cybersecurity are being discussed in public. Because when you discuss them, then you already compromise. So that is why most of the strategies are behind the scene. But government has been very committed to ensure the security of the system when deployed. However, if I'm to speak superficially without being very specific, as he observed earlier, we have national digital economy policy and strategy. It has 8 pillars. One of the pillars addresses the issue of cybersecurity. We also have national policy on the cybersecurity, which is being coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor as well. And thirdly, this is what brought about the issue of type approval, in which I said NCC is going to handle. Is all to ensure the safety of the system. And furthermore, in the next few days or weeks, even before the deployment begins, we are going to have sectoral computer emergency response and readiness team under NCC, which could be commissioned any moment from now. This computer emergency response and readiness team will shoulder the responsibility of monitoring potential attacks on our networks even before they take place. This center could be commissioned even before we begin the first stage of the deployment. This is to show to you that government gives priority to the security than any other issue, because the SAT will be commissioned before the process begins. Okay. And finally, as I said, we spent 2 years working on this policy in order to ensure that it is robust, it is effective, and it is also secured as well. In the process, we had to study other countries that deployed 5G. In North America, we studied the process of the United States of America. In Asia, we did that of the South Korea and also, for example, China. In Europe, that of the UK, Germany, and Norway. As we are talking today, Norway is about deployment of 6G, not even 5G. Yeah, they have started discussing about 6G and 7G.
Wow.
Yes. So we have done that. In Africa, South Africa and Lesotho deployed. And we had to study all this. Why? Because it is better for you to relatively stay behind and allow other nations to begin. With this, you will be able to avoid their mistakes. It's very important. Now, we are at the stage that we feel what was supposed to be done has already been done. It is because of this. This is only what I can respond to the question raised. Most of the issues are very specific on cybersecurity, and I will not comment on a larger scale in order not to compromise what we have been doing.
That's fine. It's understandable.
Yes.
Just continue with the work in the background, and let's see the effect going forward. Now, back again to Otumba Gbenga Adebayo in Lagos via Zoom. Otumba Gbenga Adebayo, tell us, I mean, some persons have raised concerns to ask whether we aren't running faster than our legs can probably carry us. We used to hear reports about the low broadband penetration in the country. We hear about the limited fiber optic coverage, around the country. And now it's 5G technology that we are seeking to deploy. Are we ready for this?
We are, and I'd also like to speak very briefly to the issue of security of our national network. Again, we thank the Honorable Minister for a number of policies that are in place. I make bold to confirm that our national network is very safe and secure. We are guided by a number of those policies. And the most secure infrastructure that we have in the country today, I can say is telecommunications network. So we have no fears and no concerns about cyber attacks and the rest of it. And on a light note, I don't know whether you are aware that just very recently the minister has been named, awarded a professor of cyber security by one of the tier 1 universities in Nigeria. So we actually have the right man there. So we are fully prepared and we are very safe. In terms of readiness for 5G, yes, we are. We are migrating from earlier generation now to the 5th generation. And we cannot say because of running faster than our legs, we will not be in line with the world. The world today is talking about 5G. Some nations are already on the 6th generation. We wouldn't say because of the challenges that we have on the lower layers of technology, we will not embrace the technology, because if we don't do it now, we'll have to play catch up later, which normally will be a lot more expensive. And what we will find is the number of features and services that are obtainable on 5G, if we don't join the train now, we will not have the benefit of enjoying those features and services. A time will come when lower technologies will have less emphasis and less attraction to the manufacturers. So a time will come when even equipment of earlier generation will become a lot more expensive to purchase than the current generation. So there are lots of things that has to take place for us to be in line with the world. And part of it is that we must join the train as 5G moves on. Now, in terms of digital economy, which is a policy of government that's been pursued aggressively in recent years, one of the things that will drive digital economy is actually 5G. And again, we will not say because of the challenges that we have on the current technologies, we will not join the 5G. So there are many reasons, many more beneficial reasons to join 5G, to deploy it now, than to be concerned about the challenges that we currently have. And you see, telecom deployment and services is work in progress. Other than the fact that technology is changing from time to time, we need to continue to upgrade and to fine-tune networks. Also, the environmental challenges will continue to be there. The government will continue to build new roads. When those roads are built, to impact on telecom services. The other public utilities will continue to deploy the infrastructure, power, water, the rest of them. When those infrastructures are being deployed, to impact on telecommunication services. And we once again want to appreciate government, because now it's been proclaimed that telecommunications is a critical national security and economic infrastructure. So other than the problem we've had in the past in terms of vandalization, willful damage and all that, that has now reduced significantly. And we thank the Honorable Minister again for driving that. So we are in a good place, actually. Step by step, we are adding more layers to it, and things are getting better. And I think that as we're talking about 5G, I hope that in another 1 year, when we'll be sitting on forums like they will be talking about our preparedness for 6G. You recall also the recent debate about election result, election transfer, and the rest of them. Again, all of these are issues of technology. And once these issues are fully resolved and technology is in place across the country, the right protocols in place across the country, those things will be challenges for the past. So yes, we are good to go. Yes, we are ready. We are not running faster than our legs can carry. It is where we should be, and that's where we are.
Well, thank you so much, Benga Adebayo. Issues of, any kind of policy, Honorable Minister, has its own positives and negatives. And of course, this technology should have its own disadvantages. I believe, I don't know how you're tackling or rather trying to look at that. The challenges Benga, Adebayo posed are also things we should look at, because we cannot run away from that. But we will do that when we come back from the break. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're reaching you from the Nigerian Television Authority this morning.
All right, you're welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, back to our guests here in the studios, Dr. Uche Banaso. Dr. Uche Banaso, technological obsolescence is an issue that you have to grapple with. So, you deploy 5G technology, what happens to the preceding generation of technologies that we've been using?
Well, it's just like if you look at everything has evolution. When you were using Peugeot 504, today you don't use Peugeot 504 again. So they gradually, gracefully, disappear on the scene with time. And so that is actually happens, with evolution. So everything evolves. And that's the beauty of technology, because every day, something very new. God made man to be very creative, to be a creator. And the Honorable Minister was talking about some countries already moving to 6G, and some countries are already talking at 7G.
Which is actually the point I'm driving at. You've already touched on that. That's are we able to catch our breath? I mean, Norway, the minister informs us, is already thinking about 6G, and here we are. We just initiated a policy on 5G. Others will come up with 6G before you know it is 7G, and then in a matter of years, 10G. Are we able to catch our breath and say this is what is appropriate for us?
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of the things I actually want to suggest here, especially with this innovative 5G that the Honorable Minister has championed. And I must say, like when he was doing the digital economy, I was part of the review team, and we did a very great work. He's very visionary and forward-looking. What is important now is, because what bothers me much is that our country continues to be a consuming country. That is, if you see the economy of all the whole world, we have a very greater population. So if we can be able to produce at least 70% of what we consume, our economy will be very great. And it will reduce even the sort of securities we have, because there will be more jobs. And so I am more particularly looking at how 5G will improve our economy going forward. And how we do that is a strategy that has to yield its fruits. So when you look at 5G and look at the teeming population, Nigerians are talented. Yes. But sometimes what they lack is the environment. If you take Nigeria out of this country tomorrow and put him in the UK, he becomes a champion. And so the problem is the environment. And so with this 5G, what I'm trying to put to the Honorable Minister here, is how to be able to build clusters of tech hubs that can bring these young Nigerians together to be able to harness the potentials that we have, be able to develop robots, be able to develop artificial intelligence, be able to, solve a little problems. If you go to China, almost every home is a technology home. Most of the things we use in this country are produced in homes. You go to India, the same thing. And so we have to begin somewhere. And because most of these technologies are no more rocket science. In fact, everything you need today to produce anything is available. And so a lot of Nigerians have produced drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, robots, but they are not deliberately coordinated and harmonized. And I think that is what is very, very key. How we can, tap the benefits of 5G. And I think, like I said from the beginning, that the Honorable Minister has done his work. So it's the industry now. How to really get the industry to be able to fund research and development. The industry is not participating in research and development. Some of the key stakeholders, like in the telecom industry, with all due respect, can be able to sponsor big, this popular social program, Big Brother Nigeria. They put a lot of funds to sponsor that. We know that enhances their visibility. But coming to research and development, to be able to help, our economy to bump, because when you are producing these little things, toothbrushes tomorrow are going to be connected devices, and we'll continue to import them from China. These are little things that can be done from homes, by putting this environment.
When you say connected devices, yes, explain this to our viewers, because earlier you were talking about the security implication. You say your fridges can be connected now, toothbrush. Is it that somebody will be remotely controlling the toothbrush?
Well, already
or that somebody will now be stocking your fridge. I'm sure some Nigerians will like that. You say just open the fridge, let them.
Yes, already we have connected toothbrushes, and they are linked to your dentist. and for a greater monitoring of your yes, that's it's already existing. This is it's not I mean it's not enough, but it's already existing. So you have almost everything today, and that is the importance of the 5G. 5G gives us that room to connect almost everything that can be connected, and because the technology today is available, the connectivity is in nano technology, so they can implant, even you can be interconnected. You as a human just implanting.
Not me.
Oh yes, it's already happening. It's already happening. So these are the things we are saying. So all these greater connected devices, these little things like your toothbrush, your fridges, and all those things, even existing fridges that are not connected already can be made to be connected. It's just a simple technology. So what we're saying is that to harness the potential of this particular 5G, we need to provide the enabling environment for our young youths to be more innovative, creative, and go to market, because most of the things they're doing just waste on the roadside. Nobody is consuming them. And so when we have a deliberate coordinated centers backed by the industry, for instance, the industry, then we will have a greater improvement and greater benefit from the 5G.
Okay, thank you so much, Uche Mbana. So let's go over to Benga Adebayo. Benga Adebayo, as the Chairman, Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, a challenge has been posed here by Mbana, so talking about infrastructure, which you earlier alluded to. We may not be having huge masts and, scattered all over the place, but rather smaller antennas now. And when he talked about employment in this regard, trying to open up the economy, and then bringing in the private sector into this to see to it that at least most Nigerians, become beneficiaries of this 5G technology. What would you say to the issue of, infrastructure in this regard? As one of the disadvantages, one would say, insufficient infrastructure of this 5G. How would you respond to this, and how would that, help in trying to open up the economy?
The infrastructure we currently have will support 5G. We are building a lot of backbones across the country. A number of sites that were connected by micro radios are now being connected onto the fiber network. Thankfully, the cost of rights of way that used to be astronomically high in times past is now significantly reduced. We thank again the Honorable Minister for that. And so the work to be done will be in the last mile. And this last mile is what we connect homes to the 5G, devices to the 5G, and all that. So in terms of readiness of our national infrastructure, we are good to go. It's just for us to layer on the existing infrastructure, the new technology of 5G. In some cases, a number of the sites will be upgraded. In some cases, you will just put a new set of antennas by the street side to power communities and to power streets and all that. And in a number of cases, devices will be connected like fiber to fiber. So about our infrastructure, we are ready. Again, a lot has been done in this regard, and a lot will continue to take place. However, there are a few clarifications that needs to be put in place. In terms of readiness for technology and absoluteness, which is what you raised earlier, it's some people we have emotional attachment to old devices. When you go to some homes today, you see fine rotary dial telephone on their desk. Not because it is in use, just because they have emotional attachment to it, they will not allow it, they will not let it go. Now, technology will not wait for us. And absoluteness is actually part of technological development. Imagine if we do not do away with the old analog exchanges, what will happen to us today? So I think as a people, we need to develop a culture of embracing new technologies, which will help us. This will help us not just in terms of accepting the fact that equipment will normally have end of life, and when the end of life comes, it's a reality, they have to be changed and they have to be replaced. Now, people who will use 5G will not have to, in all cases, buy new devices, because like the professor had said, a number of those devices will work back to with previous generations. So you have a handset that can do 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. But it is not to say that 2G will be here until forever. At some point, we will have upgrade in all of this, that the minimum, the lowest you probably will have will be the second generation, because you can't be at 7G and you are still talking about 2G. So at some point, it's a reality that will come. We must accept that technology will have end of life. And when end of life is here, it's a reality that will be. So culturally, as a people, we must begin to detach ourselves from the emotional attachment we have to old devices. Again, in some homes, you will still find cathode ray tube television set in their sitting room, not because it is working, but because they have emotional attachment to it. So you ask, what should they do with these devices? Again, we need to look at our turnaround and our recycling system. It's a policy that needs to be considered. How do we exchange old devices for new ones? How do we dispose of our old devices and the rest of them? Connected devices is something that you mentioned, and it is very, very interesting. Having guaranteed that our national network is secured, what you will have tomorrow in 5G is that the home will be connected to the office. The home will be connected to the phones. And all of these devices will handshake with each other. They will work on certain protocol that is controlled and managed by you. So in essence, you can be at the office and have a view of what's happening at home and operate your gate, operate your windows, operate your car park, and the rest of them. You can send remotely activity from point A to point B using your telephone, using your computer, using your home system, and the rest of it. So these devices will all handshake together with each other, and you will decide what you want to do. Again, if you say demo of the 5G, there's something called Alexa, which is a device that takes instructions. So you can send the morning, Alexa, good morning, what is the temperature today? What Alexa will do is to interface with the meteorological device and tell you what the weather will be like today. You can say to Alexa, what is the traffic to Abuja from Lagos today? Alexa will interface with the aviation authorities, aviation device, and check the schedule of flights, what time it is going and what time it is leaving. You can say to Alexa, would there be a delayed flight from Lagos to Port Harcourt today? Alexa will look at the process of look at the public information of the aviation authority and say to you that flight ABC will be delayed and all that. All of these are things that we work on 5G. And you see, it's a new world actually, and it's a new world that we need to wake up to embrace. So when all of these are in place, you will not have any reason to go back to other technologies. And therefore, that's why there's a need for us to embrace new technologies. These new technologies, it will improve our quality of life, it will improve our productivity, and above all, it will create a lot of employment opportunities. You have seen recently the outcry that we had when the unfortunate incident of Twitter happened, what kind of economy, what size of economy is affected. And this kind of thing that businesses done by young people, a number of them just working out of their laptops, working out of their smartphones. These opportunities will become a lot more during the era of 5G. So in terms of job creation, employment, devices being connected, flexibility of the things that we do, easy way of living, all of that will be easier to be done over the 5G network. So I think it's something that we need to wake up to embrace and not to be concerned about technology obsoleteness, because certainly technology will not wait for us.
All right. Thank you very much, Otumba Benga Adebayo. So that's farewell to 3310, the very famous 3310 that we're all familiar with. All right. Back to the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. Back to the national policy on 5G. What are the timelines indicated in the policy? And then more importantly, local content. And allied to that is an issue that Dr. Ombanaso raised. I didn't want to go back immediately to Otumba Adebayo to respond to the challenge it threw to telecommunication organizations to fund R&D. One of the major issues we have in the country today is MNCs, that's to say multinational corporations, hardly fund R&D in Nigeria, but they fund it in their home countries. So what are we looking at? Timelines for the national policy and local content, out of which we're talking about funding R&D.
Thank you very much. Firstly, on the timeline, the policy implementation is with immediate effect. And as the policy outlines clearly, that 5G could not be deployed at once in the country everywhere. We have to identify the major cities where 5G is required. For example, like Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, for example. So it should be strategic. And secondly, so that one is with immediate effect. That is why I said we have even met at the National Frequency Management Council to discuss the release of the spectrum. So now the process has started. And we do hope that in the next few months, you will be able to enjoy 5G here in Abuja. Secondly, when it comes to local content, or what I usually call indigenous content, I share the same sentiment with you. And that is what compelled me to develop what we call national policy on the promotion of indigenous content in the telecommunications sector. We have developed a policy which was launched and unveiled by Mr. President in May 2021. In that policy, we clearly mentioned that in the next few years, our target is to ensure that we have implemented the statement made by Mr. President, where he says we must produce what we eat, and we must eat what we produce. We couldn't take this statement just at the literal interpretation of it, but rather more technical interpretation. What I mean by that, when Mr. President said we must produce what we eat and we must continue what we produce, it's not only in agriculture. It should be in each and every sector. What I mean and what we have interpreted in the telecommunication sector, let us ensure that we manufacture what we patronize, and we patronize what we manufacture. That is what brought about that policy. And so far, so good in its implementation. Under Nigerian Communications Commission, we have already established an office as it is today. The office has been mandated to anchor the development of our indigenous sector in the telecommunications. That office is being headed by a director of NCC, and that office has been coordinated by NCC, and some of the staff of NCC now are part and parcel of that office on secondment to ensure that they follow what is being imported into Nigeria and what can we do to ensure that we significantly reduce the importation, if at all we cannot terminate it completely. So as it is today, we have NODIT. That NODIT is the National Office for the Development of Indigenous Content in the Telecommunications. It is an office of NCC, and it is being coordinated by NCC, and it's part of the policy we have developed, which has been launched and unveiled by Mr. President. As it is now, today, we have the capacity to produce the SIM cards we need in Nigeria. Few years ago, even SIM cards were imported, but today the situation is not the same. We have the capacity not only to produce what we need in Nigeria, even what can be used in Africa. Secondly, as it is today, our original equipment manufacturers, with support, they had been manufacturing mobile phones, not only mobile phones, smartphones. We have OEMs in Nigeria, and based on their standard, you can call them manufacturers. Because if you go globally, when you say we manufacture, it doesn't mean that each and every part must come from you. This is the standard. As long as you are OEMs, even in the US, if you go, you will discover that some of the parts are being produced in another country. So we have OEMs that with all sense of responsibility, we can call them manufacturers. This is the progress we have started making. We have done that in information technology. While I was in NIDA, we did that. I discovered then even computers annually, what we usually consume from our local production is 18,000, 20,000, 22,000 annually. But before I left the place, we have catapulted that number to over 500,000 annually. So this is our target in the telecommunications sector. And to be fair, most of the members, including Alton, gives the necessary support to ensure that in the next few things, we turn things around by making sure that we are no more a consuming nation, but rather a producing nation. Okay. And this is the only way where we can fight unemployment and unemployability in our country. And this is the only way we can make our money to be strong. And this is the only way we will create many more jobs for our citizens. And I think the last statement on research and development. Telecommunications sector and mobile network operators have been doing their best to support the sector, particularly compliance with federal government directives. However, research and development to be supported by them, I don't think it's a hard law, it's a soft law. Soft law falls under corporate social responsibilities. And we want to ensure that in the next few months, we will compare notes with them to see how we can join hands together between government, academia, industry, to make sure that we jointly support research and development. As I'm talking to you today, we have research and development under NITDA, where we support research and development. While I was in NITDA, we had a department of research and development. That department coordinates research within the sector. And we have partnership with many universities and institutions, even Massachusetts Institute of Technology. We work together on REAP. In NCC, now we are increasing their research and development. In the next few days, a committee is going to be inaugurated between industry, academia, and public institutions, purposely on research and development, to evaluate even proposal sends on research and development. So we have been doing that, and I believe there is need for us to do more than what we have been doing, and we will continue to increase on what we have been doing. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations, Honorable Minister. Well, thank you so much. Maybe in 30 seconds, if you will, or if you can, what would you tell Nigerians about 5G?
My message to Nigerians, firstly, is congratulations on the approval of the policy. And secondly, we should consider technology as something that has pros and cons. It all depends on how you use it. I encourage and urge Nigerians, when 5G arrives, let us use it to support ourselves economically, educationally, socially, and otherwise. Let us not make it a platform where we create unnecessary enmity, hatred among ourselves. We are all Nigerians, and we don't have any place better than Nigeria.
This is our only country.
Together. It is the only country we have. We have to live together.
All right. Mbaniso, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you very much. I think the Honorable Minister has actually amplified some of the greater things that 5G brings, and I join hands to say that Nigeria should embrace the technology because it has enormous potentials. And as we work together, how to allay the fears, the security and safety issues that goes with it, we'll work together. And the Honorable Minister has already made a promise in that area, and I believe him with his words. So Nigeria should embrace 5G.
Okay, thank you so much. And finally, Benga Adebayo, we thank you so much for being part of this program this morning. We are pressed for time. We may not really be able to give you much more time, but we can still maybe allocate some 30 seconds to you and talk to Nigerians about
let him do it 5G speed.
Okay, give the 5G speed in that regard, and then talk to Nigerians about this.
Just to assure the consuming public that there are reasons why we're here, we appreciate Nigerian consumers for their contribution and support for the national network in the last 20 years, and we assure them that we will continue to provide services and technology that will keep them safe, that will improve life, that will improve economy, and that will justify the reasons for the confidence they have reposed in us. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Benga Adebayo, Chairman, Association of Licensed Telecommunication Operators of Nigeria, Alton. It's our pleasure you've been part of the discussion this morning. Thank you so much once again. Honorable Commissioner, Honorable Minister, that is Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Issa Alipontami, you've been of great asset to us this morning. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure.
Thank you so much. And then, of course, Uchimba Neso, Associate Professor, Cybersecurity and Executive Director, Center for Cyberspace Studies, the State University. Thank you so much for being part of Good Morning Nigeria.
My pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's Good Morning Nigeria for today. And then we hope to come back tomorrow with another package. I'm Yusuf Darabusman.
Take care of yourself.